With Hashem's loving grace, good evening from the south of Israel. Tonight we're talking about choosing the right goal. This is part 5 in our Reaching for the Star series. And we're going to ask ourselves questions when it leave comfort zone. Most people don't like to leave comfort zone. Since they don't like to leave comfort zone, they don't get advanced. They wonder why am I treading water? You're treading water because you're in a little comfort zone and you're afraid to swim out. So don't be afraid to ask yourself serious questions all the time. Many people in our group, yours truly including, all the time we're checking, wait a minute, am I doing the right thing? Doing the right thing? There are times in our lives where we come to crossroads. We pick new ways, not just stay in the same pond. Sometimes it's scary to leave the nice little pond and to go to the big ocean where there's waves and it's vast and you don't know what's going to be. So don't avoid those necessary questions, because the sticky questions that we ask ourselves, that we assess ourselves, and we look for ourselves, these are the ones we need to find ourselves. And if we don't find ourselves, forget about finding fulfillment and gratification. And this is what we all want. So we're talking about the comfort zone. Comfort zone won't give us advancement. You'll hear me say all the time, a person doesn't get amuna by eating chocolate ice cream. And a person doesn't make advancement in athletics by eating Boston cream pie. You have to work hard. Even same academics, whatever it is, wherever your endeavor is. Okay, so things good don't come easy in life. Anything that comes easy in life, you better take a good look and see what's behind that. Because you get into that, the manufacturer could be the evil inclination. So this has come from they say made in China, made by the evil inclination. Even if everything was Hashem, but this evil inclination is to test us. Be careful about things that are easy in life. For example, there's so many stories about people that won the Irish lottery, people that here in Israel won the lotto, and overnight they're millionaires. Well, maybe they had a decent life and they were living from one week to another week. They're trying to make ends meet. No, but all of a sudden, no need for that anymore. $15 million in the bank. Oh, but you know what came with the $15 million? Somehow, how did everyone know? It was publicized that they won the lottery, and the doorbell didn't stop ringing. The telephone didn't stop ringing. Oh, this is your long lost cousin from your great uncle twice removed from your great grandmother. And you know something? Yeah, we're about our daughter's being married and there's nobody to help us. And you're the next of kin. Oh, thank you. Yeah. And we miss you. See, all these things comes out. And the person, all of a sudden, you can't sleep. You got no peace of mind. And now all of a sudden you have all these wonderful friends, a person that didn't say good morning to you yesterday, or a person that didn't give you the time of day in the synagogue. Now all of a sudden he's your best friend. And this is the fair weather's friends. This is what now you need. So wait a second, that money came easy. That money didn't work for. It did overnight. So it's not always a good fortune. And one thing, it doesn't help us. Things we get easy, it don't increase our desire, and it doesn't increase our motivation. And as we learned in several of our lessons, the desire comes to the uppermost sphere of godliness, the keter, the crown. That's the crown. This is so as we go, our desire, this takes us to the highest place. Why? Because the desire, as we learned last week, we need the desire to accomplish. And it's not up to us. Hashem has already decided how far we're going to go this particular year, this particular week, this particular day. But one thing Hashem doesn't limit our desire. And desire can take us higher and higher and higher, especially in spirituality. Especially spirituality that Hashem wants, you want to get closer to me? Person says, oh no, I want to be a multimillionaire. If it's good for you, Hashem will allow it. If it's not good for you, Hashem's not going to zero his loving son, his loving daughter. Hashem doesn't want you to be like the person, the Irish lottery. By the way, the end of the story is not as happy ending. There's so many people that committed suicide after getting the big windfall of the Irish lottery because they didn't have any peace of mind, no privacy anymore, and they just went crazy. So if a person has strong desire to be a millionaire, and because the person wants to build a new orphanage, and he wants to build a new hospital, wants to build a new yeshiva, and okay, so Hashem says, well, let's see. Did you put 10 cents in the tzedakah box this morning? Did you put 50 cents? Oh no, I want to $1 million and make the $1 million mikveh, the new mikveh, no mikveh in the neighborhood. Hashem said the guy came around with the collection box. You had coins in your pocket. You didn't put a coin in. So now you all of a sudden what? We have to prove ourselves small. We prove ourselves at a small level. In other words, Hashem sees that a person is a worthy trustee in a dollar, and he gives 10 cents off that dollar, then Hashem will up him to the $10 league and give you that $1 out of his $10. Oh, you're great. That's great. Now let's put another zero. Hashem puts him up to the $100 league. But a person proves himself or herself on each level, on each level. And that's why, that's the way they make up the top, step by step. So we're not falcons, we're not eagles. We don't fly to the top. We walk up step by step. So one other thing on each step, as we go higher, the resistance gets harder. And when we have more difficult resistance, with the resistance, we have to assess ourselves as we're going. For example, let's suppose that a person, I use it because of the weight system, person is an Olympic boxer, and he's in the 98-pound class. Well, it's difficult for him. It's difficult. Maybe he could get, he's an Olympic boxer, but a high school league boxer makes a mistake. It might be forgivable in high school, but it's not going to be forgivable in Olympics. He won't get in Olympics. He'll get knocked out. And what may be a mistake in Olympics, it might be forgivable, but it won't be in a professional ring, because as they go higher and higher and higher and higher, the resistance gets stronger and stronger and stronger. The same thing. We have to tax ourselves intellectually. The higher we learn, the higher level of our learning. Okay, from now in engineering, there's a concept called tensile strength. Tensile strength, it measures the force required to push or pull something like a rope or a wire or a structural beam to the point where it breaks. In other words, how much pressure can this particular substance take before it breaks? That's called engineering tensile strength. They have it in packaging also, where they put pressure, they put a carton, they build a carton, and they test the carton under pressure. They put it under pressure, and they could apply 10 pounds per pressure, 20 pounds, 30 pounds. They see when the carton breaks. And then they take a safety percentage below the breaking point, and they say this is guaranteed to hold 20 pounds, 25 pounds. That's the tensile strength. So we can't know the strength of a material until we test it. What does it mean we test it? Strength of material. We expose it to extreme pressure. And that's what people say, why the stress in my life? Hashem exposes us to stress. Now, there are tools that we have to deal with stress. Well, people say, but stress. And if a person would say, Hashem didn't create the human body to handle stress, you're correct. You're correct. Some did that, just not stress, that's anxiety. It wreaks havoc. It wreaks havoc on the brain and on the digestive system, on the respiratory system, the cardiovascular system. So if it wrecks up our system, why does Hashem give it to us? Because Hashem gives us the ability to withstand the stress. When does the stress and the anxiety come? When we worry, when we think that we're in charge. We think, like the Torah says, the might of my right hand. No, then you're going to be in big stress, my brother, big stress, my sister. But when we have emunah, and we put our faith in Hashem, Hashem, you handle the stress. I have to pray for you. It's not my all types of problems that people's problems. This is okay. Give it to Hashem. Give it to Hashem. Give it to Hashem. That's what we did today at Hebron, the Machpelah cave. Okay, by Leah Imenu's grave site, by Yaakov Avinu's grave site. Okay, Holy Father, Holy Mother, Holy Great Grandfather, Holy Great Grandmother, take this up to Hashem for me. Take this up to Hashem, and not even Hashem by virtue of this holy great place. Solve the problem. Let us have this blessing. So we take things and we uplift them to Hashem. But we wouldn't seek Hashem if we didn't have these pressure. And if we didn't have the pressure, we wouldn't seek a higher station in life, which is more achievement. Why do we have to seek more achievement? What, we're all go-getters? No, because Hashem gives us potential. And if we don't try to fulfill our complete potential with the soul that Hashem gives us, then we're not going to be doing our soul correction, but to help we need our ultimate correction, tikkun olam, to correct ourselves and correct the world. So this is why I have to strive the best. So this also, our striving for the best is going to give us the most gratification in life. A person who is not gratified, a person who is not fulfilled, means that that particular individual is not accomplishing or not endeavoring to accomplish what he or she is destined to do. So Hashem gives us a feeling of unsatisfaction, so we'll keep on looking. So if you're unsatisfied with your lot in life, emunah means we're satisfied with our life. But if someone is completely unsatisfied, then that's how people get close to Hashem. Person living a secular lifestyle, or a Noahide that living a complete Gentile lifestyle that doesn't have a Hashem in his life, has all types of religion, but feel unfulfilled. Or a person born Jewish and maybe goes to synagogue, doesn't feel anything. Nobody ever taught him Amunah. He says, okay, he's Jewish, but they never learned it as Shem. Same thing with a Noahide individual. So we have this concept that in mind that we're not going to feel with our lack of fulfillment, our lack of satisfaction, is because we're not in the groove that we should be in, the groove of our achievement, doing the right thing. Then we have to do some soul searching. Now look at people who are in Baruch Hashem. We have people in our group that are doing, they know exactly what they're doing, and they're not afraid of 18-hour days. They're not afraid of 21-hour days, and they just get going. They know exactly what they're doing. And difficulty, say, bring it on. Bring it on. Difficulty, bring it on. So this is when you believe in what you're doing, when you know what you're doing, you're willing to do anything to attain that particular goal. Okay, so our manufacturer, which is the creator that manufactured us, he wants to show us what we're capable of. So he gives us our tensile strength test, our pressure test, and it's usually more than we think. Learn this classic example of the Army. You go in the Army and they tell you, especially in a combat unit, they're going to be do A, B, and C. Don't believe it in a million years. Never. You're going to tell me I'm going to walk 120 kilometers with a full backpack? I never walked 5 kilometers with a full backpack. And how much the full backpack? The full backpack weighs twice as much as I ever took on my back. So what do you do? The 20 times more than everything. You end up doing it. You don't do it overnight. It takes something 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, but you get there. And that's like reaching the peak of our personal mountain. We're not eagles. We don't fly up to the peak, but you walk up and you walk up, and the higher we get, the stiffer it gets. And sometimes we can't do it on our own. We have to use ropes, and we have to use nails and pegs and mountain climbing equipment. Depends what we're doing. We have to use more equipment. Okay, so let's return to a thought that we learned earlier in the series, that last week. What do people call successful? Quote, successful. I don't want to speak about anyone. I speak about myself. Speak about myself. I was 33 years old. I was 33 years old. I was already a veteran of a combat unit, prestigious combat unit. I had a degree in agriculture and applied science, and I had a really good career in agrotechnology, the agriculture products, developing agriculture products. I was making good money, and I had two hobbies that I loved. One was long distance running, and the other was photography. And I had shows, in galleries, and okay. So the feeling as far as society, I had good friends, and then I did the best of both things. I would go and play around in the city, and then go back home to the farm and live the life on the farm. And you think, look, it's hunky dory. Hey, this guy lives a great life. I was restless, so restless, and never satisfied. I'm starting to think, what am I going on? I'm running from the mashab, running to have jollies in the city and art galleries. It's got to be a bigger show, and always something more and more and more. And then never what King Solomon says, the nefesh lo timaleh. He says that the soul is never satiated. So something is wrong. Something is wrong. Here's Laser living a very physical life, nice social life, but a very material-oriented life, even though according to Israeli standards, it was an idealistic life. I had a farm up on the border, doing good things, and the land had my hands in the soil of Israel, and very Zionistic. Well, things that looked ideological. It wasn't some type of a greedy businessman or something like that. But then that came the year 1982, and it's already been through one big war in 1973 and all types of skirmishes in between, the Litani mission in 1979. That come 1982. 1982 was the first Lebanon War. And in the first Lebanon War, Hashem took me really out of comfort zone. Really out of comfort zone, where I made people think they imagine the angel of death. He was looking in my face in downtown Beirut, looking in my face. And he already hit our unit. Not everybody came home. And it was the worst day of my life, the worst traumatic, the trauma. Uh, it left me with the hearing loss. I was injured in eye, and that was came out great because they're friends that didn't come out as fortunate as I did. But something happened. I had this feeling you're not going to get out of there alive because we were in a crossfire, a nasty crossfire in downtown Beirut. And if I do get out alive, that's not natural. Because I was a veteran soldier already. 1982, I'd been in the Army for 12 years already. And this not, it was no basic trainee. I was already a unit sergeant and infantry recon. You're not going home. And I started thinking of the sad feeling about the same time that I was in the IDF. I had a brother who was in Vietnam. My parents are in Washington. They were still alive then. May they, God rest their blessed memory. Souls rest in peace. But when I was serving the army over here and I was running around in Lebanon, Golan, Syria, my brother was in Vietnam. So my parents had one son in Asia and one son in Israel, and both in combat. And my parents had lost, they came out of the Holocaust, but they lost our older sister out of leukemia. And here I was the next. And my brother in Vietnam was the third, one, two, and three out of six kids. And I had this real deep sorrow for my parents because at another minute, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be finished in some Beirut gutter. And somebody's going to knock on the door of my parents' home in Washington, the military attaché from the Israeli embassy, and tell them I had the sadness. I felt so sad for my parents. Hashem, they've been through a lot. I wasn't even thinking of myself, but I said, Hashem, I got to get out of here. I said, Hashem, wait a second. Who's Hashem? What start talking to Hashem? I never spoke to Hashem. Hashem? And said, I had this feeling that I get chills telling the story. It was right there with me, right there with me. And I heard my Hebrew name. People were calling me Laser. But my bar mitzvah, I never heard my full name, only in my bar mitzvah, Eliezer Raphael ben Yaakov. And I heard in my brain my Hebrew name, but never used it. Never used it. Just used the nickname, Laser. And had a feeling, unnatural feeling, that I'm going to get out of there. And I didn't know where this feeling came from. It's strange. I'm not, I wasn't doing Hippolyte every day, wasn't conversing with Hashem every day. But then in late summer of 1982, I made a promise to myself and to whoever I thought either I'm going crazy, that the pressure is I've become insane, and I cracked, and something cracked upstairs, and I'm going crazy, going insane. Or if it is what I think it might be, if it is you, Hashem, with the God, and if you're going to get me out of here, you got a deal that my life is devoted to you. Well, long story, one miracle happened after another, not going to the whole thing. Get out of there. And ever since then, I try my best to keep my word. So it changed my life. A lot of guys come out, Army, similar situation. We see something now very difficult. Just today, I visited a soldier when I was in Hebron. I just visited a soldier that came out of Gaza and got serious PTSD. A lot of the soldiers have serious post-trauma. And you could see for our situation, my situation, Beirut 1982, were it not for the Amunah, and were it not for the change, would be in serious, very serious PTSD as it left. They had left with the hearing loss, and Baruch Hashem, my eye. I thought I lost my eye, but then they saved my eye, and it was great. And look back, the worst day of my life, ultimate. Why I'm telling you, we talked about tensile strength, or was it putting me in the box test? That was the pressure way beyond. If someone would tell me ahead of that, this is the pressure you're gonna have. Oh, can't make it through that. Talk about a crossfire. What was that? I don't want to go into the gory details, the technical details. But the worst day in my life, the highest pressure day in my life, became the best day in my life. Were it not for that day in Beirut, I would still be maybe farmer growing peaches up in a mountain, and peaches and turkeys. There's a joke just to lighten the things up. They ask an Israeli turkey farmer. They say, "Excuse me, sir, you look at you got a white beard. You're a farmer for a lot of years, and working with turkeys. They're pretty dumb birds. Doesn't that affect your mind?" He says, "A lot." Voila. Okay, so it was a difficult day, but on that particular day, I asked myself, who am I? Where am I going? Am I satisfied? No, I'm not satisfied. Now I have to look for who took me out of Beirut, and that was Hashem. So by looking for Hashem, it led me to Torah, and this a near-death encounter. It took me. It was the beginning of a journey to today, and the journey it didn't stop. There were things that were difficult back then in our day. That the amount of there was no such thing as rabbis that were Baalei Teshuvas, rabbis that were newcomers to the program. My Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Noach Weinberg, he made a yeshiva for Baalei Teshuvas to teach them to be rabbis, and that's why Baruch Hashem, we make it easier because for the people that we counsel that are also new into the program, not only the newly observant Jews, but the newly observant Noahites, we've been on the other side. That's going to some rabbi might not understand. To explain to rabbi what your tests are, you might not understand. Rabbi used to be a football player. Yes, so what's that mean? The rabbi never played football, but the rabbi had such and such experience in the army. So it's a whole new thing. Hashem made difficulties not just for me, but for a generation to bring a whole new generation of people closer to Hashem. So at that particular day, I decided I'm going to pursue a new path of life. And that particular, so eventually it took me a couple of months to liquidate the farm. And other people thought that it was crazy, but they thought my neighbors on the moshav, the farm, they said laser lost it in the war. That's it. All of a sudden, I started putting a keep on my head and started putting on tefillin and started with it. And here we got, my farmer neighbors, and most of them were born in kibbutzim, the furthest place away from religion it could be. Okay, they're Israeli, but Judaism, they didn't know the difference between a bagel and Yom Kippur. They didn't know one thing. They were very, then here, there's laser. All of a sudden, yesterday, you're one of the guys, and tomorrow, in the good time, tomorrow, you're not interested in the small talk and not interested in everything. And they see you reading a Chumash, reading Mishnah. They're going into town to learn Gemara with a rabbi from Chabad, making a bar mitzvah for your child. It was crazy. Okay, didn't listen to. We say that we don't listen to the Torah of the nations, but we listen to the wisdom of the nations. Never forget an expression by Henry David Thoreau. He says, if you listen to the beat of a different drummer, that you hear the beat in your head, that drummer that's playing in your head, go to his beat and not pay attention to what other people say. But so many people are slaves to social pressure and slaves to reaction. Example, this week, a rabbi, the head of a yeshiva, he came to me to get some advice. He called me up. He says, the head of this yeshiva, I want advice. I said, well, with pleasure, be an honor. So he called up. He says he's got a particular disciplinary problem in the yeshiva. The boys learn great all week long, but on Shabbat they go crazy. They don't necessarily pray well. This, that. What do I do? So I gave him a solution. He says, I can't do that. I said, why can't you do that? He says, the heads of the yeshivas, they'll throw stones at me. That's not acceptable. I said, Rabbi, but you said that you got a problem with discipline. Told him about something that good. I said, give the guys, the boy, the young man, give them a good time. Okay, guys, you learn 3 hours on Shabbat after prayers. Okay, you learn 3 Shabbat, and then they get a special gourmet lunch. But it costs too much money. When it costs too much, we're talking about it. So every solution I gave him, he says no, because that's not acceptable. That's out of the box. All right. Okay, so continue with your problem. I think out of the box. We can't think out of the box because you think according to this. King Solomon teaches us to think outside the box, both ourselves and of other people. Chanoch lenara pidalko. We educate the soul of the child according to his or her own particular talents and attributes. All right. So that if you take them and fulfill their aspirations, help them find themselves, and first of all, start with ourselves. It is going to be hard. First, it's an axiomatic, going to be hard. This many people, okay, let's see how many people sign off the broadcast right now, but it's not going to be easy. But if you decide to stick with it, it is going to be gratifying, very, very gratifying. And you take people, you take people that have had so many tribulations in life, so many tribulations in life, but they've got King David had more tribulations than anybody else. Moses, Abraham, Jacob, and that's why they became so great. So if sometimes to find ourselves, we have to do an overhaul of our lives. We have to ask ourselves a serious questions. Am I on my right path for me? Am I doing what I want to do? Am I doing what I need to do? I'm assessing my talents, and according to my talents, am I doing? So, am I on the right path, doing the right goal? So now we do that. Okay, that's all fine and good. But let's connect and focus on door. Let's hone in and focus on 5 self-assessment questions about choosing the right goal. Right. So we said in the beginning of the lesson, don't be afraid to ask yourself some serious questions. And most people avoid this like the plague. They can sit them, open up another bag of potato chips, open up another bottle of Coke, and watch the football game or watch the movie or the Netflix or whatever you're doing, and go back to being a couch potato. And what's a couch potato? They're not happy. It's just temporary. It takes away their attention from themselves. They're focused on something else, but they're not learning their passive entertainment. They're what we call pastime. Pastime for a person who seeks Hashem is an anathema. Leisure time, that's an anathema. But leisure time, people learn for leisure time, yearn for leisure time. What's leisure time? I came here to have leisure? Why did Hashem take this exquisite soul that comes from beneath the heavenly throne, no higher place, and throws it down here? This is the furthest place in the world away from Hashem. Talk about purgatory. All the souls in purgatory being punished, they all know that there's Hashem, which means that purgatory is on a higher spiritual level than this world. So why does Hashem do that? Hashem does that because here we get to know him. We don't get to know him under the heavenly throne because the angels can't get to know him. Hashem doesn't reveal himself. You can't see it. If I imagine it's a bright light that you can't look at. You can't look at the light of the sun. You can look at the light of Hashem. No. But down here, the more we overcome our difficulties and our challenges in life, the more we create ourselves as a worthy vessel for divine light. And that's why people on higher levels, they have more divine light and more divine light and more divine light. And they have more knowledge and more insight. And you could see, you could right away, if you have it, pay attention spiritually, you could tell when you're a person on a higher spiritual level and a person on a lower spiritual level. Because a person on a higher spiritual level might ask him something and that the logic is so clear. And the logic, if you ask something to the Military Rebbe, you get a clear answer. Why? Why did I ever think of that? Because I'm not on that level. And you're a higher place on the mountain, up the mountain, you could see better, you can see more clear. All right, so let's ask ourselves questions that most of the world is afraid to ask themselves. Question number 1. You can find these questions, by the way, in Path to Your Peak. But let's see that, our book, Path to Your Peak, about your finding your own personal potential. Question number 1, what gives me a feeling of inner gratification? So maybe the person thinks in his mind, something, I'm never going to leave my work. I've got a good paying job. I hate the job. But how can I leave the job? Hold it. Nobody told you to leave your job. But what gives you a feeling of gratification? So a guy says, oh, I've got this successful business, but he hates it. He doesn't like his customers, like the competitors. What do you want to do? He says, I love to make people feel good. Oh, yeah? What did you think? You'd like something to heal? Yeah. Okay, go and learn to be a medic. Learn to be maybe to work, to volunteer for Magen David Adom, the Red Cross, to do something. Learn to be a paramedic. You could even turn into a career. And if you've got enough courage, go to medical school. For example, I'm just giving a crazy idea. But the person can turn if he decides he wants it enough, and he's just not happy being a shoe salesman. So he tries insurance. He's not happy being an insurance salesman. All right. But then one day he saw a dog limping, and he looked at the dog limping. He saw the dog had a thorn in his paw, and the dog couldn't pull the thorn out. So he took the dog and he pulled the thorn out, and The dog licked it, was so happy, and he could feel it. He could feel the happiness of one of Hashem's creatures, one of Hashem's creations. But he just felt so good. Yeah, my friend, maybe you're a healer at heart. This made you feel good. So why not pursue that? Why not pursue that more? Now, maybe this could be these oversimplified examples, but trying to make things clear. The person is, we ask ourselves, what gives me inner gratification? Number two, do I have a goal or am I going nowhere? Let's go back to our successful shoe salesman. He's got a shoe store. Doesn't particularly like shoes. Doesn't like taking off people's shoes and putting shoes on, this and that. But okay, he makes a nice living. Does he like it? No. Okay, what's your goal in life? What's your goal in life? And I says, you know something? I have this great living. Let's take compare between two shoe store owners. Neither one is particularly happy, but the first one says, I have a good living. And, I have a daughter in medical school and I have a son in yeshiva and I'm supporting them. And I believe so much in what they're doing. And I support them. I pay their tuition. And this gives me the desire because maybe if I have another job, I won't make the same money I'm making here and I won't be able to do that. Okay. He's already got a mission in life. He's got a mission in life. He wants to raise his kids to be good professionals. His daughter's become a doctor. His son to become a Torah scholar. Okay, that's fun. That's fine. That's terrific. But he's got the other one, also same shoe store, same good income, same everything. Hates what he's doing. Where are you going? Every day. It's another day humdrum in a shoe store. Another day. But sir, be happy. You could pay your mortgage, you pay your electricity, but I'm just unhappy. Because with the first person, he may not be particularly enlightened or enchanted with his job, but he's got a goal in life. The second one doesn't have a goal in life. And especially the goal, when we have the ultimate goal, the Emunah goal of getting close to Hashem, that whatever we do, and then Hashem will really help us find ourselves and the talents He gave us. The third question we need to ask ourselves, am I living according to my desires or according to the desires and expectations of other people? Wow, this is something that people just don't have the courage to go against the tides of social pressure and to do what they believe in. So why are you living the same thing with this Rosh Hashiva that I spoke to this week? Why are you're living for your status? What's your job? You want to have status amongst the other heads of yeshivas, that your yeshiva have such a status? Or do you want to raise good boys? Now, this particular Rosh Hashiva, he's a Torah scholar. He could buy me and sell me in Torah scholarship. But as far as Emunah, excuse me, sir, you don't come to second grade in my class, not in my school. Because the first thing Hashem is going to ask you when you go up there, who are your students? What did they do? Did they get stronger in their Emunah? Did you teach them Emunah? No. Oh, but they're big Torah scholars. But they didn't particularly like it. Did you make a climate that they love Hashem Asim, that they love me, that they love my Torah? All the basic questions this head of a yeshiva won't be able to answer. Just trying to show you it doesn't depend on a person's stage. If you've got a long black coat, or the person looks like he's doing the right thing. In the world of truth, the questions of truth. Am I living according to what I know I need to do or what other people expect me to do? How many people have this all the time with prospective Noahides that they've read Emunah and Emunah and the Noahide, and they see it all makes sense. And maybe they saw Rabbi Tovia Singer's lessons. It's all makes sense. All makes sense. Okay, then why get the paraphernalia? Get the paraphernalia out of your house and start serving Hashem and Hashem only. No middleman, nobody else. Yeah, but what are my parents going to say? What's my brother-in-law going to say when I don't have a December tree bush in the living room and don't have this? What's going to be? Hey, excuse me, my brother, my sister, are you living your life? Or are you living for your relatives? Now you know what truth is. Now you've learned enough to know what the truth is. And what about your life? People go through all that, and that's the power of social pressure. Not only that, but this is one thing. As soon as we want to go on the path of truth, One of the greatest tools of the evil inclination, you have to know this, is social pressure. When you get pressure from your boss and pressure from your peers and pressure from your family not to do the right thing. For example, the boss says, okay, it is now time, annual, we're, we have this annual, where one, the boss assesses the workers assess the supervisor, and it's all a big menagerie of slander and lies and this and that. And person, let's look at the boss and say, I can't answer this questionnaire. My religion doesn't allow me to ask a questionnaire. I can't say things behind the back of my boss. I can't say things behind the back of my workers. Oh, but other people say, they say, well, listen, if you want to get advanced, then you have to tell us what they're doing wrong and what you're doing right. No, sir. I believe in Hashem. Hashem's going to advance me. I'm not going to seek advancement by stepping on the bodies of my coworkers or my bosses. I can't do this. The boss says, well, if you don't fill out this evaluation form, you're out of the company. He says, sir, you can do what you want, but tomorrow you're going to tell me if I don't eat a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich in the dining hall of the factory, I'm going to be thrown out. You're going to have thrown out because I'm not allowed to do this. The same thing. We have our food has to be kosher. Our mouths have to be kosher. But people, they're not living according to their lives. They're doing something miserable because living because what the boss wants and expectations of other people. That is the evil inclination. Now let's go to something that might sound like sticky. No, that's not sticky, but it is sticky. Did you ever ask yourself question number 4, what are my good points? I know talking to a little boy, speak to a lot of people, parents came, a little boy with that lacked self-confidence. And I talked to the little boy, what's the matter? He says, with the friends, and they don't pick him to play basketball. He's a terrible basketball player. I said, well, maybe you're not meant to be best. I said, you're shorter. You're shorter and a little bit chubby. Well, it turns out here and there and that, and here the analytical mind, he says, I asked him, I said, do you play chess? You know, King Solomon and King David played chess. And he said, Rabbi, I love chess. I love chess. Okay, then pursue. Then maybe I said, what was the chess name? Bobby, the international chess player championship. Okay, then play chess. Play chess. Don't play basketball. Don't try to play basketball. You be the chess champion of the school. If this is what you like to do, and this is what you're good at doing, go for it. All right. But maybe his father was a frustrated basketball player, frustrated second string basketball player, and he wants to relive his life through his son. So the father has a son. We see a lot of times with parents, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, that's the parents' aspirations. That's not King Solomon. King Solomon says, educate the child according to his or her aspirations. So that we have to tell myself, what are my good points? What are my good points? I love humanities and don't particularly love science, or I love science and mathematics, don't love humanities. Or even within Torah, there's no law who says that you have to learn Gemara all day long. A young man came to me several weeks ago, and his teacher in the yeshiva said no good because he did not good in Gemara. There's no law, but you're probably good in other things. We found that areas that he's good in, even a particular area that he enjoys within Gemara. If we look for the person's good points, Rebbe Nachman wrote a whole discourse on that. If we look at Likutei Moran, Torah Azamra, Torah 282, Resh Pei Beis, Torah 282, the discourse 282, talks about a person looking the good points. And Rabbi Nachman says over there that if a person doesn't find his good points, never going to be satisfied. You're playing the wrong sport, you're playing the wrong game, you're doing the wrong thing. So sometimes we have arrangements on our own house. My wife doesn't particularly enjoy cooking. I do the cooking. I love to cook. It's great. I love to cook. My father cooked, and my brothers we're all great chefs. Okay, she does everything else, and she's happy as a lark. Now, if I had to do the ironing, for example, I'd burn both thumbs. It just doesn't work. I don't know. I could do a lot of things. I could do a lot of different things, but ironing, no, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. We all have our own talents. We all have our own aptitudes. And business within a family, there's no law that says the man has to do this job, the woman has to do this job. He's got to be this. we do according to our own talents, according to things. Sometimes there are such things as stay-home husbands. There are such things as stay-home wives, they're working wives. There's no law. You look at that. You structure your family, structure your marriage, structure your education according to your talents and abilities. And Hashem put you and your spouse together. You guys are a team. Go ahead, let's do your team game. And this is the first thing when we do have marital problems. Marital problems because both of the couple, they're not just doing the right thing. Get together, let's get our game plan. Get a game plan together and do the right thing. You find this is a formula for success in finding a job, finding a career, getting close to Hashem, and marriage. This everything, finding gratification, finding ourselves in no matter what we're doing. So answer the 5 questions. Once again, number 1, what gives me a feeling of inner gratification? Number 2, do I have a goal? Or am I going nowhere? Heaven forbid. Number 3, am I living according to my desires? Or according to the desires and expectations of other people? And including this, even people closest to me, like my parents, my spouse. Am I doing what I need to do? What I need to do. It's not fair for parents to want to relive their lives and their children. Okay. Number 4, what are my good points? And number 5, am I performing my task on earth? And that's the first thing they're going to ask us the question when we get up to the pearly gates after 120 years. Why didn't you perform your task on earth? I gave you these talents and these aptitudes. And a person says, so embarrassing. I didn't know. You know why you didn't know? Because you never asked yourself that question. You never assessed yourself. So what are you doing? You knew the football scores. You knew the baseball scores. You knew the stock market, what stocks are up. You never assessed yourself. You never assessed the tools that the Creator gave you to succeed. This is the best assets. Number 1 is Emunah. Why is Emunah our best asset? Because Emunah is our belief in Hashem and know that Hashem is unlimited. And Hashem made my soul unlimited. And my soul is a tiny part of Hashem. As we learned our very first lesson, Reaching for the Stars, we are souls, not bodies. The real me is the soul. The body's the housing. And the body's temporary, but the soul it's forever. So we have to answer ourselves for our own good, not for anyone else. Go behind, lock the door, do your own personal secluded prayer, and ask yourself questions. So you have to determine where we are in life. We said last week, where are we? Where are we in life? Because if we don't know where we are in life, we can't know where we're going. And then once we know where we are in life, that we learned last week, when we review last week's lesson, then we can find our own particular path that we're talking about right now. From this moment on, cherished brothers and sisters, from this moment on, to continue on, forget about other people's goals, other people's pack and piece, other people's living rooms, other people's this one became that, this one got the Nobel Prize, this one got his PhD, this one did that. That has no bearing on your life. Jealousy is 100.00% evil inclination. Jealousy is to transfer your focus off yourself and to put on something else. And we use the example of little Kim Jong, that 95% Korean, 95-pound Korean that can bust the 10 cinder blocks. And he does that because of intense focus, intense creation. If we take Kim Jong's concentration off his job, he's going to break his hands. He's got to break the first one of the cinder blocks. So to break those cinder blocks, it's a metaphor for our obstacles in life. We have to focus on what we're doing. And let's focus on our particular questions. So now that we know the 5, let's look at them a little bit deeper. I know I'm being redundant. I know I'm driving this home, but it's like something when we learn to do something. For example, in the Army, you take apart a particular rifle, a particular carbine, you do it 1,000 times, 2,000 times, until you can do it in your sleep over and over. Ask our brother Jacob Lunan when he's teaching someone a new move in self-defense or in combat arts, and it says, Coach, this is unnatural. Okay, we're going to do it 10 times. 10 times, we're going to understand it. He's going to correct us. Now, once he corrects it, we're going to do it 100 times and then do it 1,000 times until that move becomes second nature. That's what we teach, redundant. And this is the power of retention and learning. And we go over something. So we gave the general 5 questions. Now let's look at them a little closer. We asked ourselves first, what gives me the feeling of inner gratification? So here, We have to differentiate. People confuse that, especially in Western society, between the treat temporary thrills and the long-lasting gratification. So the chocolate covered donut, oh, it's heaven. Eat that chocolate covered donut with your Starbucks coffee. Oh, it's heaven. Hold it. How long is that heaven lasting? A minute, 2 minutes maximum. And after someone swallows the last bite, seconds, they have post, they're translated into English, post lust remorse. Any kind of lust, whether it's eating or whether, let's say, a young lady, you know, that piece of apple pie that you loved with all the sugar? It is a moment on the lips, but it's going to be 2 years on your hips. That's not where you want to go. Okay. Stop and think. Stop and think the price you're going to have to pay for that. I know I don't know how. My wife, she had some type of, this was the past Shabbat. Even Shabbat, things should be healthy. She makes great oatmeal cookies. But she had this craving for pastry. So behind my back, like a little girl, she bought a piece of pastry we call a rugula. And rugula is this really oily white flour dough with this chocolate paste inside. It's terrible. And happened to open up her private closet, was looking for the tea bags. And I see this little bag. I knew what it was by the smell. And I asked her, I said, Yehudi, you know how long it takes you to walk for an hour, do 4 kilometers at your pace? Said, yeah, what's it? You know how many calories you burn? I said, well, you with your height and your weight and the speed, you'll burn about 240 calories. Okay. Then I asked her, do you know how many calories is in one of these little pastries? Oh, you do that. It's Shabbat. They just won't. Okay. I said, what? That's fine. And this one of these little pastries, it's 250 calories. She says, what? I said, yeah, if you're going to walk for an entire hour and it's not going to pay just for that one little pastry, is it worth it to you? How many times have you said to yourself, no, I don't feel like going for the walk with this, a 4 kilometer, yeah, but it's good for your heart, good for your legs. Tell her. That's the way we translate these things. And we see the difference between our cheap thrills and long-lasting goals using something very simple to understand with the food and calories. Everybody understands that. But any other test, take any other lust, I don't want to be more graphic, and if it's a forbidden type of lust, people have remorse 10 seconds afterwards. And that's the way it is. So where did this lust come from? That is the evil inclination. That's the evil inclination forces it to us. So with our proverbial minute on the lips and a year or two on the hips, we see that the body suffers anguish from the instant joy of bodily excess and bodily indulgence and bodily lust. And the body itself, body, you're really dumb because you have this enjoyment. You're paying the price. You're paying the price. Sometimes the price is heavy. The price of blood pressure get worse, diabetes, kidney problem. You know what the prices are for not eating right? And people don't want to hear it because they again go out of their comfort zone until comes too late. And the older we get, the more difficult it is to correct. It's like the tree. When a tree is a young sapling, it's very flexible. You can put a post and it can make it grow straight. So I'm sure we all agree that eating chocolate covered donuts, as well as other bodily indulgences, it's not going to bring us lasting gratification. And it's going to bring the exact opposite. Because when you get on the scale, it said this week on laser beams, we wrote an article about post-holiday weight loss, how to get rid of the excess loss that we put on the holiday season. And put a picture there of a little 5, 6 year old girl with this oxen. And she gets on mommy's bathroom scale and she asks herself, this doesn't hurt. So if it doesn't hurt, why does mommy cry every time she gets on the scale? You see, you can see that you're gonna mommy's paying the price. Mommy's paying the price for her emotional eating, for her binges. And say, okay, mommy, sell yourself some celery sticks or some cucumber sticks or some carrot sticks. So you can see the chocolate covered donut. It's so instant, doesn't make you feel good inside more than the time it takes you to eat it, and then you're miserable. So ask yourself, what makes you feel good inside? You have the willpower to not to eat that donut. You have the willpower not to eat that donut, and you take it and put it away, and or even uh, I don't know, give it to somebody, give it to someone, to fact about giving it to someone, but you dispose of it. Okay, but I overcame. And what did you overcome? Overcome lust. What's lust? That's evil inclination. That is gratification. When overcoming, that is gratification forever. You feel really great about yourself. Now, careful. Now, you feel great about yourself. That's great. The evil inclination is going to try you again. So, look at the. Do you need the praise of other people? Do you need the proof of other people? You know you've done something right. You know you've done something good. You give a poor person. You see a poor person on the street. Nobody else on the street, or you help that little old lady cross the street, or you give that poor person the money for a loaf of bread and a quart of milk. Doesn't have nobody sees it, but you walk away. Oh, you don't have the testimonial dinner in the synagogue on Saturday night because you gave $1 million to build a mikveh. You don't need that because you know, my brother, you know, my sister, that you did the right thing. And by doing the right thing, you know that Hashem has gratification. When Hashem has gratification for what you're doing, you're going to feel great. Take it right away because Hashem will give you that feeling. So this is the answers and these questions that we ask ourselves. What makes me feel good? And what gives me the feeling of inner gratification? The answer is going to help us find our happiness and our path to inner gratification. Okay, now second question we ask ourselves, do I have a goal or am I going nowhere? So many people are treading water and they're working humdrum to get their biweekly or monthly paycheck, but what do they have to look forward to? They might be sad and depressed because they lack an ultimate goal. So here again, we have to ask ourselves, where am I going? What is it taking me? Why am I doing what I'm doing? So there's a world of difference between a person who practices medicine, a doctor, an individual who wants to make money because maybe where he lives, doctors make money, or a person that wants to heal other human beings, and a person that wants to sanctify Hashem's name, especially if you're identified with a certain population. For example, suppose you're a business person and you're a Noahide, or you're an observant Jew, you're an Amunah Jew, or a Noahide, and you know something? You say, feel in yourself, I'm not a business person, I'm an ambassador of Hashem. So anybody I deal with, I'm going to be impeccably honest and make sure I don't touch a single cent that doesn't belong to me. And when people say, wow, this person is so honest, what's on with the person? Why is it so much nicer to deal with anybody else? Oh, because this person believes in the seven Noahide laws. A person is an observant Jew according to the Torah. But if you see a person, for example, who has the outer trappings of an observant Jew, and the person is not honest, wow, is that defamation of Hashem's name? That a person like this he should act in a manner that's an unsightly manner? It's the exact opposite. So when we see that we're doing something because we're doing Hashem's will, I'm in medicine to cure people, to bring them closer to Hashem, to live longer lives, and to do Hashem's will, to Hashem's creations. I'm a Hashem's maintenance man, doctor. And a person doing something to make money. And I know one doctor that was, that they say, for a lawyer, they say disbarred, but a doctor, he lost his, doctor came to, he was caught overbilling people, caught overbilling for service he didn't perform. It's defamation of Hashem's name. So making money is a goal, but it's not lasting or gratifying. The doctor who's out for make money is not going to be happy because Rabbi Nachman says one of two things happen with the money. We learned this in Bitochen. Either Hashem takes the money away from the person, or Hashem takes the person away from the money. But in Yiddish, there's an expression that there's no pockets and shrouds because you don't take the money to the next world. They don't take no cash, checks, or credit cards. They only take their good deeds. So making money is not such a great goal because it's neither lasting nor gratifying, but that desire to make this world a better place, that desire to sanctify Hashem's name, that is a meaningful goal that no one can ever take away from you. Our third question we ask, am I living according to my desires or desires of other people? You know, there's a classic example of the frustrated dad who never made the first team in the football team, or the frustrated mom that in the orchestra, she only became third violin. She never made second violin or first violin. So now mom forces her daughter to play the violin. Well, maybe the daughter wants to dance. Maybe she wants to play the piano. Maybe she wants to be art. No, mom, she's got to learn violin. Mom, you can't live your life through your daughter. You have your soul. Your daughter has her own soul. The fact that her body has your DNA and your husband's DNA, her soul has Hashem's DNA, and that's Hashem as an individual. Hashem makes every snowflake individual. So he's certainly going to make every one of his human children, everyone is going to be individual. So we can't force our son to be a football player. He wants to play the violins. We can't force our daughter to be a singer if she wants to be an artist, she wants to paint. You can't force. You can't force the kids when the kids wants to learn science and when do you become a lawyer? No, he wants to become a research scientist. No, research scientists don't make money. How many times your parents say that? No, don't do that. Kids wants to teach school, wants to be an educator. No, teachers don't make money. How many times have you heard that? Maybe we've heard that in our own homes when we were growing up, and that's not it. That's not the way. That's not the way to raise a child. So true self-assessment means that maybe we're 40 or 45 or 50, and we're not taking a good hard look at we never did. Am I doing what I wanted to? Or mom and dad said, go to university, you have to go to university. Didn't want to be in university. Played around, didn't do it. Or what am I doing? So it's double frustration. When I'm trying to please someone else, I'm not going to succeed because I can't be someone else. And I'm not being myself. The important thing, being myself, using my own tools. I can't work with other tools. No matter what I do, I can't be someone else. So we be ourselves. And we find our own, assess ourselves. What are my talents? What are my strengths? And if you don't know, then consult somebody. You don't need necessarily to consult an occupational therapist or some kind of guide. And your spiritual guide that knows you and knows what your talents and aptitudes are. And find the good place. Set your goals. Do what you want. Go for it for what you want to do and what you want to do. And this is what Hashem gave you the desire. Don't knock down your desires. Okay. The difference between lust and desires. Lust comes from the inclination. Desire comes from Hashem. When it's good desires, we're talking about good desires. Usually desire, real good desire, spiritual desire. And the gratification is spirituality. Gratification, there's no gratification. We talk for material things. Our fourth point, what are my good points? What are my good points? Make a table. Put things that you like to do, things you don't like to do, things that you are good at, things that you're not good at. Things you're not good at, if you don't like playing basketball, or if you're not 6'10", at least, you weren't meant to play in the NBA. That's okay. That's not a blemish. People look at it as a blemish. That's not a blemish. It's just guiding yourself. We do something to understand. If you don't have 20/20 vision, then you weren't meant to be an airline pilot, and certainly not a fighter pilot. That's not your correction. Now look for something else. So we see the things we cannot do are not our disabilities or disadvantages. It's not our soul correction. As what we said 2 lessons ago, when the plumber has his own separate tools in his tool bag, and the carpenter has his own separate tools, and the electrician has separate tools, and neither one uses the tools of the other one. Because the carpenter needs tools to build a table, the plumber needs tools to unclog a drain, and the electrician, he needs tools to connect the circuit. Which brings us to the 5th question. Am I performing my task on earth? If we answer positive answers to the previous 4 questions, in other words, that am I doing what I need to do, what I want to do, and my talents and aptitudes, it's a good chance, a very good chance that I am performing a task on earth, because the Creator creates each of us with our unique tasks, and there's no exception to that. Nobody is that. You are not an exception to the rule that Hashem gave you your own individual talents, aptitudes, and tools in life, which enable to accomplish your particular mission in life. So with that in mind, if you feel unhappy or unfulfilled, then you haven't tapped your own rich resources. You're a diamond mine in South Africa, but you haven't pulled the diamond out of the mine. They're down there. Start digging, and you'll find them. And once you find them, you're going to have to polish them. So don't let modern society fool you. You don't have that. You can't do this and put labels on you. Don't ever let them put labels on you. And they're all trying putting materialistic goals for themselves. People are not doing anything for your good unless someone that really loves you, what's that loves you spiritually and cares about you spiritually, cares about you being fulfilled in life, cares about getting close to Hashem. Otherwise, people do what your boss is. He's got his own interests, your neighbors. What can another person do for me? And certainly making money is not going to find us. And searching for material amenities, that's not going to create character improvement. It's not going to bring us to inner peace. And it won't leave our mark in life. And you can see the people went after fame and money. Look at the examples. I collected some examples. Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, Janis Joplin, Karen Carpenter, Jimi Hendrix, and a lot of rich people. They all were rich. They all had super amount of money. They had super amount of fame. They all committed suicide. They all went to an early death to the grave. So wait, something's wrong here. Who would want to be an Elvis Presley or Karen Carpenter? She sang like an angel. And Marilyn Monroe, the great actress, but they were far away from fulfillment. They were miserable. So here in today's lesson, last week's lesson, we talked about our starting point. We talked about finding our destination. Now that we set our sights, we know now the direction. Questions to ask yourself how to find their destination. So now we are going to go further and find how practically to achieve our goal. Once we've determined our goal, and once we've determined our talents and aptitudes, now our next lesson, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to learn how to use them for the best. So what we do, these lessons are built on step by step. It's like we're going up a mountain, and we can't step from the first lesson, lesson 4. So if somebody's new, they should really go back. You can find all the replays of our lessons, the lessons that our series on Reaching for the Stars. They're on YouTube. They're on laserbeams.com. They are on emunabeams.com. And go back and review them because it's going to help you be the best person you ever can be. And you'll fulfill your potential and you really be happy. And then you're going to go accomplish things you never dreamed of doing with Hashem's loving grace. You should have a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend. Tomorrow night, we have our lesson, Rabbi Nachman's Tales, Bo Hashem. Look forward to seeing you over there. And otherwise, in 1 hour, we'll be back, God willing, next week on Wednesday. Meanwhile, have a lovely week. Don't ever forget that Hashem loves you, and so do we.